going off on an organization or going off on a coach or strangling a coach in a lobby, which we had experience with, is not a good way to get your kid into a better situation in the future. So please stop being a parent cut.
Yeah.
I won't hold you down.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back. Every time me and Jamie get together, we try to do some of these like little quick table talk type of things.
I like table talk.
Well, I stole that, so we can use it, but we have a table and we're talking, so it fits. So we just finished tryout season. Every time we do this, I kind of want to have something where we talk to the goalies, but we also talk to the parents. So we're going to kind of go into what happens during tryout season, and as a parent, what do we do if our kid didn't make the team that we wanted to, or if there was something that didn't go the way we expected, and how we should handle that. And I think this is a pretty polarizing topic, but it's also, I think, very, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, in the moment.
In the moment, it's polarizing, but it's also the truth, and sometimes, the bitterest truth is better than the sweetest lie. So, and, if you're a parent listening to this, and I guess like if you're thinking, oh, that's absolutely not me, I would never do that, it probably is you. And if you realize it's you, then that's okay. Everything what's done is done. But try to take our advice and move forward, because Derek's been through this a ton from both sides, and now he's getting into it, being the father of a young goalie. I went through it as a player, listening to the stories, and now I'm getting involved on the minor hockey side. I guess like where we start is parents, you play a larger role in the tryout process than you think. And almost always it's from a negative point. And we talked about this yesterday, that, we've heard through the grapevines and we've seen it on both sides, where there are kids that are not chosen for teams because the coaches don't want to deal with the parents.
Let just call it what it is. It's a parent cut.
It's a parent cut, yeah.
And for those of you that haven't heard that term before, it's exactly what it is. It's your kid gets cut from a team because of the parent. It's a parent cut. So anytime I go and do goalie evaluations for a team, number one, as goalie evaluators, that's what we are. We're goalie evaluators. We have a very limited viewing. We have very limited kind of resources to run drills that we think we can get the most kind of information out of, but we don't get the whole perspective and we don't get the whole package. We don't get to see the whole thing. So all they are is evaluations. Mm-hmm. So when I go into a goalie evaluation, I'm like, I'm going to give you your top four, and then it is always the same conversation is I'm not going to pick your goalies for you. Here's the top four. You should pick your goalies inside this top four. But it is that coach's prerogative and their right to pick their team. Mm-hmm. Now, the coaches sometimes take our advice, sometimes they don't. And that's fine.
It's their team.
It's their team. But I say the same thing to every single coach. Whether they're a volunteer or they're getting paid, it doesn't matter. You have to show up to the rink every single day.
Yeah. And
you need to show up to the rink wanting to coach the group of players that you have. So if there's a kid on that team whose parent is making your life a nightmare, you have the right to remove that nightmare from that group. Yeah. If your kid gets cut and you think that the process wasn't right, or you think the decision wasn't right, think about, if you send that email, is that going to help your son or your daughter either make the next team lower, or is it going to help your son or daughter get back to that level next year? By telling everybody that they're idiots, is that going to further benefit your child's development in that system? And I don't see how any of that's going to happen.
It actually always makes things worse. And I know you're emotional, you're frustrated, and whatever it is in that moment. Again, it's easier said than done. You take a breath. Think about the long-term ramifications. If you're calling out everyone, the organization, how everyone's wrong, and et cetera, or you call and you leave an angry voice note or tweets or whatever it is, it's on the internet forever, it's in the voicemail forever. When you try out again next year, people are going to remember that. It doesn't just disappear into the void. And again, if you're a cancer parent, it hurts your kids. Even though you want the best for your kids, you ultimately are hurting them by being overwhelming, be annoying, and making it a miserable experience for the coaches, who a lot of time are volunteers, and they're just trying to get their team to win games, and they want to enjoy coming to the rink. And if you're making that a problem, don't be surprised if it hurts your child long term.
We're talking specifically to goalie parents because of what we do.
Yeah.
I know in my experience, for sure, 100%, that I've gone to a goalie evaluation or a goalie tryout, and I have had a very hard time distinguishing which two goalies are the best.
Yes.
And this is somebody who's done this for 20 years. So put yourself in that coach's perspective, who's probably not a goalie guy. If they're bringing us in, they're probably not a goalie guy.
Yeah.
We're looking at probably 50 kids on the ice, trying to make decisions there, and then having to decide between goalies. And if we're having a hard time saying which are the top two, think about it. Think about the things going through his head.
Yeah. No.
There's gonna be mistakes that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And they might not be intentional, or they might be intentional. Like, he might have an idea, but he's trying to pick the best team he can. So don't get so angry if you feel the coach made a mistake, because that coach is going based off of what he sees and his feelings, and they might make mistakes, but that gamble might also pay off. Because we just went through a tryout process where it was a pretty big try, and there was a lot of battles, and honestly, there's a lot of decisions that I had a really hard time making, and it came down to at the end of the day, there was a couple where, okay, who do we think is going to be better in 6 months?
Yeah.
Or is this kid worth a gamble to take this kid? Because if we put him in this environment, he might blossom. Mm-hmm. And then some people on the outside might be like, oh, that's a crazy pick. That's a political pick. It's not a political pick. It's a pick based off of opportunity. Does this kid over here have more opportunity to develop if he's put into this situation? But going off on an organization, or going off on a coach, or strangling a coach in a lobby, which we had experience with, is not a good way to get your kid into a better situation in the future. So please stop being a parent cut.
Yeah. That's good.